Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and professional witch, and today I'm answering the question of how do I connect with my guides? Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. I am offering a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course starting at the end of September. We will be deep diving into the first 12 major arcana cards with me as we embody archetypes and learn about how to transform ourselves through the tarot. If you sign up by September 12th, you will get 25% off with code EARLYBIRD. Check out the full details in the show note description. If you're interested in crafting your own tarot cards, you're finding your creativity again as summer starts to wrap up in the Northern Hemisphere and we transition into cooler weather, you can go ahead and get my full workshop where I give you an hour-long recording with my step-by-step method, examples of the cards I've created and how I do so, journaling questions, and a PDF to walk you all through it to do it all on your own for just $33. So you can click the link in the show notes to purchase that now. I just updated my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever. So if you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family at the lovers level. If you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. I recently did a new moon in Virgo collective tarot reading. So right in the future, if you join at the lovers level in the Patreon, I'll pull a card for you after I do the collective tarot reading. So if you want to get a taste of what the collective tarot readings are like, I do have the replay linked in the show notes. It was for the new moon in Virgo, which entered Virgo on August 21st, 22nd, depending on what time zone you're in of 2025. And you can check that out. And I will be doing those live for free every month. And then if you want a card pulled for you individually, that's when you can join the Patreon to get that benefit. If you're local to the Greater Puget Sound area, you can join us at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. I will be putting up a virtual tarot card crafting event again soon for anyone around the world to join. I did just post my full moon circles that I run with my colleague Izzy at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma for the rest of 2025. So we have the next 4 full moons all lined up for you. September 7th, October 5th, November 2nd, and December 7th are going to be when we're meeting. Sundays, the first Sunday of every month for the rest of 2025. So if you are local and you're into doing some ritual, pulling some cards, hanging out together, aligning with the moon that we are entering for the full moon, check out the meetup group, or I will also have the link to the Eventbrite where you can register to sign up for those. And if you want to join my weekly newsletter where you can learn about, all the update information on upcoming events, presentations, all in one place, you can join my newsletter list. And if you do so, you will get a free PDF with a 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year. And if you don't already know, I am a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing clients virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients, so if you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, welcome to season 14. In season 13 that I just wrapped up, I was talking all about divination in the Harry Potter series. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you should check those out. In season 1, I talked tarot basics. Season 4, tarot pop culture. Season 5, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. If you ever want to check out an episode about a specific card, in seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards. And in seasons 6, 7, 8, and 9, I went through every card in the suit of Wands, Pentacles, Swords, and Cups. So all 78 cards are covered if you ever want to check out an episode specifically about a card. In season 10, I talked tarot and witchcraft. In season 11, tarot and plant allies. Season 12, tarot and animals. And like I said, I just wrapped up season 13 where I was talking about different types of divination that come up in the Harry Potter series. And now we're on to season 14, where I'm answering all your frequently asked tarot questions. So today I'm answering the question of how do I connect with my guides? Maybe you've read some witchy books or you've kind of heard about this before. Connecting with my guides. Who are they? How do I know? So we're going to talk a bit about that today. And tarot is definitely one way to do so. So we have that going for us. But yeah, let's talk about communicating with your spirit guides or guides. What are they? Let's get into a bit of that. And I will have links in my show notes for where I pulled information on. So there's this sort of idea of spirit guides or guides as a non-physical being that is assigned to guide us to attain the greatest potential on earth. Some people view them as like guardian angels or gods or goddesses. Depends on the kind of cultural practice that you come from, because different cultures and spiritual traditions hold different beliefs and practices when it comes to contacting ancestors or other spirit guides. Next episode, I'm going to specifically talk about ancestors, but today we're going to kind of talk generally about guides or spirit guides. So again, what are they? Have you ever felt like something or someone was watching over you? Maybe you've heard a whisper or heeded a thought that led you away from danger or a terrible decision, right? If any of that resonates, that might be you've already had contact with your spirit guides. So again, they're non-physical beings. Some of the people view them as like these beings have signed a contract to help you navigate the material realm in your day-to-day life and guide you towards your greatest potential on earth. Sometimes they're referred to as totems, but Anishinaabe people, angels, spirit guides, or guides that can take many forms. Sometimes they show up as ancestors or animal spirits, voices, or visions, and they vibrate at this kind of like higher than human frequency. You might think of them as light beings or energy or souls that have made their way into a different plane. And again, belief systems, are different. And so depending on what belief system or culture you grew up in, but some belief systems say that like you're assigned this like team at birth, while others believe that guides kind of come and go or come to you as you need them throughout your lifetime. What do they do? Your spirit guides, they're here for your benefit, even if you're not sure how to like access them, and they're already showing up for you. Again, even in times where you may have felt alone, they might speak to you in dreams or signs or symbols. They might send you clues or leave breadcrumbs that lead you toward a bigger idea or goal. They can usually show up as gut instincts, ideas, downloads, or synchronicities. So again, they're highly tuned into that part of ourselves of intuition. They can protect us perhaps from negativity or harmful thought loops, usher you through anxious or depressive thoughts, increase creativity, help you connect with your soul's true purpose. They might even help you make tough decisions or bring the right people into your life at the right time. And I'm pulling this information from the animamundiherbals.com blog on what are spirit guides and how do you communicate with them. I will link that in the show notes. So again, there's kind of different types of guides. Like I said, next episode, I'm going to specifically talk about ancestors. But there's sort of this idea of like higher self. This is one guide you always have access to. It's because it's sort of the higher self is you. Instead of it being the separate spirit-based version of you, it's simply the part of you that's deeply connected with the divine, the universe, can easily see past a lot of the maybe earthly things that we get in the way of divine reasoning. It is a guide that sees beyond maybe the surface of things and ushers you forward into deep and loving wisdom. This might feel like intuition or a sixth sense. Whatever form it takes, acknowledging it can become your most powerful tool. There's also the idea of angels or archangels, which you may have learned if you grew up with religious beliefs. But angels can also be seen as non-denominational. Many people say they receive messages from specific angels regardless of their religious background. And archangels are like spiritual figures that tend to come with like a specialty. For example, Archangel Michael represents protection, courage, and truth. It reminds me of how in sort of Catholicism, there's like saints, or in other religions as well, where again, there's sort of like these archetypes or often perhaps historical figures that did a lot of things in their earthly life and then also sort of like can call on that energy in a different way after they have passed even. Again, there's sort of this idea of ancestors that maybe when like someone dies, their spirit ascends to a higher plane where it can stay and assist people on earthly paths, perhaps before reincarnated again. So it might be like relatives you knew, people or ancestors from previous lives, or spirits your soul has not had contact with before. They might come with the wealth of information that they've acquired. Some people refer to like ancestors and ascended masters as being similar things like Buddha or Jesus. But I would say like it doesn't have to be that. Those are obviously very sort of popular ones, or ones that we've definitely heard of. But like I said, I'm going to talk more about ancestors next episode, so I'll just kind of stop it there. But so if you want to learn more, check out the next episode. There's also the idea of plant or animal spirits, right? I talked about plant magic and tarot 2 seasons ago. So if you want to sort of learn more about that, you can jump into that. There's also sort of animal spirits. I did a season on that recently. So those would be seasons 12 and 11. 11 was tarot and plant allies. 12 was tarot and animals. So you can get an idea of different, plant or animal spirits. So it's a belief that objects, creatures, or even places all have a soul or distinct spiritual essence. And for many people, their guides come in the form of plant or animal spirits. And sometimes even like maybe ancestors or guides will speak to you in the form of symbols in plant or animals. Oh, here we go. So yeah, guides often come in the form of signs and signals, like seeing a hawk every time you have a specific thought or experience. Also common to see animal guides in dreams, meditations, and visions. And plant spirits, especially if you work with plants a lot, might come up when you're working with a specific herb or flower, or if you spend a lot of time in nature communing with kind of different plants, and the idea that they all have their own spirit or essence. So you can, assign meaning to those guides or ask them what they're here to show you. There's also the idea of deities, so gods or goddesses. These belief systems, right, if you have learned about those, consist of one or more gods or goddesses, some being, judging or punishment, but all with sort of like supernatural powers. If you feel drawn to particular deities or a god or goddess shows up in your life, you can foster that connection by learning more about them, read up their stories and characteristics, as each one comes with their own rich mythology and many lessons to teach. And I would even say if you feel called to learn about a certain god or goddess, like that might be a sign that they're trying to speak to you or show up for you. There's also the idea of like galactic beings. So maybe, right, having ancestral connections to like different galaxies. The system suggests it, right? Maybe souls haven't just reincarnated here on Earth, but stars and planets light years away. So if you feel like you've never belonged here on Earth or feel a spark of energy, when you hear about the potential of being related to star-based spiritual teams, maybe those guides are for you. There's also the idea of universal or spirit energy. So maybe many people don't see, sense, or hear any particular guide, but instead tap into the all-knowing energy of the universe. This is a collective sea of unconscious energy that connects us all, a spiritual source energy that is all around us and also of us. You can call it universe, spirit, source, or God. You always have access to it and always have. And again, if you don't feel connected to a specific spirit or animal or plant or energy, like maybe, right, thinking about it as universe, spirit feels better to you, and you can have deep connections also to a like spiritual guides and a more universal energy as well. So how do your guides maybe like show up? How do you know? How do I connect with them? So they might communicate more loudly than others. Your job is to listen, which is right more than just our literal ears, but your guides might send you information through certain books or random quote unquote people or practitioners. If you see something more than a couple times or their sort of synchronistic events tend to happen frequently, you can pay attention to that. Some guides might send messages in the form of numbers or symbols. So if you get an inkling that something might be a message, you can write it down and track how often it comes up in your life. You can think about what you were doing or what you were feeling at the time. You might also hear messages through art forms like songs or photos or movies, poetry, or TV shows. Guides can often show up with messages in the dream space when conscious thought can't get in the way. So dream tracking can be a wonderful way to heed guidance from your team. And if you want to practice more sort of dream interpretation, you can check out my last season talking about divination in the Harry Potter series, where I went through a lot of different forms of divination, and dream interpretation also shows up there. So that was a recent one that I did. Guides, they might also come, like guidance might come in the form of jobs or people or opportunities. So again, like okay, you're open to it, sounds nice, but how do you actually do it? Let's see here. I would say, yeah, one of the best ways is kind of like through meditation. If that's something that feels available to you, it can either be like setting a timer or using Insight Timer, which is a meditation app, and setting it for a certain amount of time and right, practicing breathing and then opening up your connection to guides or goddesses or spirit, and you can ask them to come speak to you or who is there. That is something you can do. I will link to a like 10-minute meditation about how to connect. Let me see exactly what it's called. Meet Your Spirit Guide, which is a guided meditation. Like I said, it's just about 10 minutes. And it's not like having you meet a particular person or guide. It's just to kind of help facilitate you seeing what that practice is like, seeing who might come around. And it might feel subtle, like it might just be you're in meditation and like something or someone or a myth or a god or a spirit animal or a plant like comes to mind. Like that is what I would say like is how a guide might speak to you. For some people, it might be, again, like less subtle. It might be like, oh, I've never seen this animal ever in my life, and then I saw one every day for like 2 weeks. Right, and if you have like a tarot deck, so I have the Anima Mundi tarot deck by Megan Weirer-Wenden, which can be a great thing if you want to learn kind of about animal or spirit animals or guides, because it is full of different animals, and sort of you can utilize your knowledge of tarot to learn about the essence of them. So it could be like looking it up, right? Okay, what does it mean when I see a porcupine or a bat or this or that? And again, you can check out my animal season if you want to hear a bit more about different specific animals. So that could be kind of fun. What else? Yeah, you can just have this kind of simple exercise of like meet your guide. So find a quiet space, close your eyes. Again, take some slow, deep breaths and long exhales. Settle yourself into calm, and you can kind of lightly maybe do a body scan, which is like scan yourself from head to toe to have a sense of your energy field, your physical, emotional, mental state currently. And then once we're tuned into that, we can let go of that awareness, return to the breath and the present, and simply just kind of ask in your mind for any guides. Can you please step forward and make contact with me? You can just kind of see what happens from there. And if it's not clear, you can always ask, like, who are you? How do I know? Is there anything that you would like or anything that I can help to connect with you with? If you have like a daily practice of pulling tarot, or you have an altar of any kind, like again, if you have a guide or a god or goddess that's interesting to you, or an animal or plant spirit, like go seek it out, right? Find books, find information, and then maybe, right, you can maybe pick that plant and put it on your altar. Or kind of seasonally, you could go by the sort of wheel of the year, the pagan seasons of the year, to connect with the essence of whatever the current kind of like moon cycle is, and what animal or plant or god it's associated with. There's a lot of different kinds of cultural practices around actually connecting with guides in this way. Let's see what else. So yeah, when you're in that, right, you can see if you're experiencing anything. It could be like I see a color, or again, like I think of someone or an ancestor or an animal that comes to mind. It could be like a feeling of like calm or love or peace. Maybe you feel like a certain part of your body like softens, or some tension releases. You might have certain, again, like feelings of hope or expansion or interconnectedness. You might feel warmth in your chest, or feel more grounded or open when you're connected to this sort of larger connection of all humans and spirit. And this is like, again, it can be a very like subtle art of like, and it could be a practice, right? I think, again, that's why a lot of the sort of witchcraft terminology is around practice, having a tarot practice. Do you have a daily practice? Because like it is something that when you do it regularly, it makes it easier to figure out like the patterns or synchronicities, or just if information is right, feeling stronger. Like if you pull the same tarot card every day for 2 weeks, again, like I bet that card's very important. And so that can just be helpful too. And again, like depending on your own psychic abilities or divination methods that you use or anything like that, like the information might come to you differently. So it could be like a visual in your mind. Maybe it could be like something you hear, or again, like maybe you're very in your body and present, somatically connected. So you feel, oh, this like relief in my stomach, or this like tingling in my toes, right? And all of those things can be different ways of connecting. The person in this article shares that they feel flooded with light in my head. My ears go warm or glow. I know I'm being spoken to, and I just listen and often repeat the words to someone else. They talk about when they're like reading for someone. And so that is like another way. I definitely get like a lot of imagery, sometimes like colors, but often just like literal like pictures of things or like metaphors, which works well for me in like therapy world, because we use a lot of metaphors in therapy world. And so that has been one way that I can kind of share those things sometimes, of like, oh, it feels like we're building a brick wall, right? Or like, oh, I see this wave crashing over, if someone's talking about kind of like unrelenting or like hopelessness feelings. So that just sort of like some brief ideas about how that might be. So also when you work with guides, like you can, right, ask them what they want or need. You can ask, like, if you need help, you want a question answered. Again, like, I think pulling tarot cards can be a way to connect. Like, you can ask a specific question or spirit or a certain guide about what they think about something, and then have it come through the tarot. You can also, again, like, work very consciously with a specific particular guide or god or goddess, like if you want to like work on healing or like a lot of love or things like that. You can be like, oh, Venus is this like self-love energy. I'm gonna have an altar to Venus. I'm gonna have roses, and I'm gonna have all these other things that like go along with that, because I want to work with like this guide of Venus, because I'm working on my own like self-love, for example. So again, like doing a lot of like even just learning about what it is that comes to you can be part of the practice. I talk about in an early podcast episode that one of my first experiences of like intuition was I've been going in like libraries and bookstores my whole life. I love books, huge reader, and just like obsessed, love to be around them. And like going into bookstores and just sort of having the experience of like, oh, what section am I called to? Like, what book looks good today? Or like books that I had heard of and then I hadn't had a chance to get, and then it just like shows up on the library shelf, or things like that. That can be this way too of like, oh, spirit is guiding me to this thing. The last thing I wanted to share as we talked about this was that my friends and I, as part of the Dirty Hoe Coven, our retreat last year for Samhain in New York State, we had someone come and take like aura photos of all of us, and it was very interesting. There was like a Polaroid photo sort of, and so we all got to experience that, and then we got to see the photos afterwards and see like what showed up in them. So this can be like another, like, right, a very visual representation of your own energy, or right, literal aura, but also of guides that sometimes like on photographs might like show up as like orbs or sort of like humanoid figures in the background. And I'll post my photo on Instagram with the episode stuff and on my website of my aura photo that I got taken, because it almost looks like there's like these 4 orbs above me, and like the aura reader told me like, oh, those are like your guides. You have a lot of guides. And I felt that like when people would talk about guides, they would be like, oh, I really work with this one, and I would feel very like, oh, I don't, like, there's like 4 or 5 that I work with, but it used to feel very like, oh, I don't know if that's true. Do I just like those ones, or those goddesses, or like am I just kind of like obsessed with them and want to learn about them, and like sort of downplaying my own like connection or intuition around it. So it was very like kind of affirming to see like a visual representation also of kind of like each person's like spirit guides and their own, again, like their own energy that they give off in the form of this photo. So I'll share the one that's of me. It's also very like purpley blue pink behind me, which just like feels very right for my current like energy in this like time of my life. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead, let's dive in and pull a card, see what they have to say today, and maybe I'm going to pull from my Herb Crafters Tarot, see if there's any spirit guides coming through as plant spirits that want to have any information for us. Okay, and again, this is the Herb Crafters Tarot by artwork by Joanna Pole Colbert, written by Letitia Guthrie. I'm gonna give that a quick shuffle or two. Interesting. Okay, I pulled the Eight of Water, which is about Valerian. So, seek the depths of rest. Sleep is the best meditation. The Dalai Lama. Relax, recover, recuperate. An oceanside room, so it's telling you what's on the card, glows with soft light. A bouquet lies on a nightstand near a warm pot of valerian root tea. Delicate star-shaped flowers fall to the floor. Steam rises to meet moonbeams on the water. The full moon shines through a small window, illuminating the mountains beyond. Exhaustion makes the simplest things feel insurmountable. You may be overextended and weary. Do you need to step away from commitments? Invite time for retreat, like the calming energy of the sanctuary. Pull back from it all, be still, and recuperate. Valerian is a valuable tea for those who struggle to rest and relax. If a lack of control over the situation has led to constant anxiety, invite sleep and consult the dream time. Valerian is a pungent medicine. Slowing down may not be a pleasant experience at first, but it is the only way to become strong again. Okay, and then it says if you want to craft with the Eight of Water, you can drink valerian tea for deep, restful sleep. You can carry valerian root in a magic vial to settle anxiety, or create time for a personal retreat. Even a staycation can be rejuvenating. All right, well, thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. If you'd like to join me for my 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course starting at the end of September, come and deep dive with us. We'll be talking through the first 12 cards of the major arcana as we embody archetypes and learn about how to transform ourselves through the tarot. And if you sign up by September 12th, get 25% off with code EARLYBIRD. Get the full details and register in the show notes for that. The links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your tarot deck recommendations. I'm specifically asking because I want to start checking out more tarot decks. I have 10. Y'all, I want more. I want to know which ones you love. You can even tell me which ones you don't like or aren't worth it. But yeah, I figured I'd start asking some specific questions to see if I can get you all to connect with me there. And you can find me on Instagram at professional.witch. I changed my handle recently, so I am there. All right, so see you soon. Bye for now.